Welcome to Improving Sales Performance, a podcast highlighting tips and insights aimed at helping sales organizations realize and maybe even exceed their goals. Here, we chat with thought leaders, experts, and gurus who have years of sales experience from a wide range of industries. I'm your host, Matt Sunshine, CEO at the Center for Sales Strategy, a sales performance consulting company.
We're so proud to be celebrating Women in Sales Month once again. For each week in October, we have an amazing slate of women sales leaders who will be sharing their unique insights. From offering advice for sales managers new and more experienced to surveying the anticipated landscape of sales in the years ahead, when it comes to improving sales performance, these ladies know how it's done. I'm Stephanie Downs, Senior Vice President and Senior Consultant at the Center for Sales Strategy. I'll be joining Matt Sunshine on the show for the entire month of October. Today, our guest is Stephanie Slagle, Vice President and Chief Innovation Officer at Graham Media Group. Stephanie has so many amazing insights to offer, like why customer results should always be your North Star, how even the Michael Jordans or Lebrons on your team crave coaching, and finally, why the mark of a great sales leader lies in the ability to articulate the path forward.
Hi, Stephanie, and two Stephanies. Yep. This is, I know, Stephanie Slagle. Hi.
Hi.
So jumping right in, from your point of view, what are the things that you look at in the sales department that allow you to know that things are on track? Like, a better way of saying that is to say, what are your key performance indicators? Are there 3 to 5 things that you're regularly looking at and that you pay attention to?
So we are heavily focused on activity as a leading indicator of success. And so we have a proposals pitched metric. And so what that tells us is how many times were our account executives in front of customers asking for business. Mm-hmm. And so the proposals pitch one is probably our most important KPI. We get kind of rid of all that down noise of all the things that led up to get to proposals pitch, although those are very, very important for our sales managers to measure. But that's really the largest one, is how many times are we in front of customers? The other, we actually have a subset of that one that's really important to our business growth, which is how many multiple product campaigns did they pitch? Mm-hmm. Because that's an indicator of they're not just outselling a single thing. They're actually solving customers' problems with their solutions. And so the multi-product is a big, big important one. And probably the next one there. So those are 2 obviously developmental businesses, right? Mm-hmm. Those are, we look at those on the developmental side. On the core business, which is still a very, very important part of our business, we look at the health of our key accounts. Mm-hmm. And by health, we mean it can be growth, it can be maintain if there's a loss in market budget. But our managers, we encourage all of our managers to have quarterly reviews and previews where they're looking at the key account health. And so is it in the best shape it possibly can be? Are we serving these customers' needs? Because what we realize is that if that account is healthy, especially in our core business, where a lot of those decisions are made at an agency level and not always with us in the room, mm-hmm. The fact that they're returning and potentially spending more with us is a big indicator that our services are working. Yeah. So those are our main KPIs that we track.
Yeah, I really like the way you articulated each one of those. So many times, Stephanie and I do a lot of these mm-hmm. conversations, and what resonates the most, I think, with the KPIs is when they're essential in the sales process, mm-hmm. right? Like not that anyone would use this as a KPI, but what if you said one of the KPIs we look at is how many times someone writes a thank you note? Mm-hmm. Well, thank you notes are really, really important, but there's really no correlation that probably could be made
Right.
Not every, you could be the number one salesperson and not send out that many thank you notes. You might have a different style, but everyone uses proposals.
Yeah.
Everyone uses, nothing happens without a proposal.
Right.
So it's a great one to have. And I also love, and this has been echoed on this podcast again and again and again, focus on what you solve, not what you sell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and that's what you're doing when you're tracking the multiple products is let's make sure we're focused on what we solve versus just what we sell.
Yeah.
It's smart to do that.
If I had my perfect state, I would love to focus on customer results only.
Yes.
I would love that.
I love that.
Because and when
Right.
in some of our products we can, right? In some of our products we can heavily focus on that, but not all. But that would be my perfect state. Is our customers getting value from our product? And that's why the key account health is important, because we don't have a lot of information about all the way, when we're talking about these large brands like a Toyota, right? We don't know how many cars they sold that it's attributable to our campaign, because that happens many levels above us. But we do know if they're continuing to advertise with us, then they're having success on that front. So yes, customer results are the most important thing and should be our North Star. And all of those are proxy.
That's exactly right.
So let's stay on this similar conversation, but what should sales managers really be focused on? Think about it in terms of, biggest rocks or those highest priorities. And I know coincidentally, Stephanie, you and I were having this very similar conversation just yesterday.
Yes, we were.
I can guess what you're about to say.
You know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say coaching. Coaching is the most important thing, because we have in our typical sales team, we have 2 local sales managers that are tasked with working with their teams. And I always tell them we have 2, which is basically a one manager to 5 person ratio, because we want them coaching and we feel like that's a fair coaching number, because our managers are fantastic, but they're a single individual, and I need them to multiply what they do across the 5. I need the 5 to constantly be striving to get better. And so coaching is the most important thing that they do. It is also the biggest challenge. And I know this, I was a local sales manager too. It's the easiest thing to set aside when things are on fire, right? Because you're like, you know what? They're fine. They're fine. Especially your seasoned reps. So easy to just let those guys go and just be like, you know what? They've been doing this a long time, maybe even longer than me. They're fine. They don't need me. But we really we need to build a culture of all trying to constantly get better. Yeah. And in particular, those sales managers are the front line of that, because I actually work with an executive coach myself. I have for about 8 years. And she can help me see my blind spots. And she helps me see the things that I'm missing. And I think that everybody, no matter how good you are, no matter how successful you are, I think everybody needs that.
Yeah. Your point about veterans, I think that is pretty common, that leaders have a little bit of a set it and forget it mentality when it comes to coaching veterans on the team. They crave it too. They want it too. And we don't often know that until they leave. And then when they leave and it's the exit interview, or they share some piece of information, it is. But you think about all of the opportunities where coaching can happen, right? It's in field when managers should be in field. It's during one-on-ones. It's even moments in the sales meetings when they're practicing, pick a topic. It doesn't matter. There's so many opportunities. It is their number one priority.
So
it is. Another area I'll give a shout out to my CSS training. The other area you find out about how much coaching they actually crave is when you do a growth guide.
Yeah.
You take time to do a growth guide. You realize that these, I call them like the Michael Jordan. I'm showing my age, I know, but I call them the Michael Jordan of like our team.
We're with you. We're right there with you.
I didn't say LeBron. I said
Michael Jordan. That's
totally. Right. But the Michael Jordans of our sales teams, right? They do want coaching, and as soon as you see that and you see it in the field and you see them change and respond to it, it's actually, as a newer manager, it was a little bit of a shock to me that they did want coaching, because I thought, well, what can I provide? You've been selling longer than I've been in the business. How could I provide something? But I started doing it, and then I realized, but I can, because I'm not in their head in the moment. Just like a good coach can watch a basketball player and see what's happening, because they're not actually in the field with them. And so
that's right.
That's really a big piece of it.
Yeah. We always have them. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, one of the things that strikes me is that sometimes, and I know I've had to have these hard conversations sometimes with managers where they'll say, well, this person's a veteran and they don't want any coaching. Mm-hmm. And I have to be the one sometimes to say, no, they might just not want coaching from you.
From you.
Right.
Because what they don't want, what a veteran seller doesn't want, is to have their time wasted.
Right.
Right. And if your coaching is just telling me what to do, or pointing out being Captain Obvious and pointing out things that are no kidding.
Yeah.
Then a veteran seller is going to say, well, you're wasting my time. Right. And yes. But a veteran seller absolutely craves good coaching. And yes. Some veteran sellers that I know of, where they're not getting good coaching, go outside of their organization to have their own personal coach. It's that important to them.
Right.
It's so important.
It's observation. It's truly observing and making a point that maybe they didn't realize they were doing, or maybe they missed an element, going, I did miss that. And helping them say, let's just try it different. Let's try it this way next time. And let's see if it could have an impact. It might not, but let's see if it has an impact.
Also for jobs. Go ahead, Stephanie.
No, I was going to say, it's also important from a recruiting standpoint. People want to join organizations that foster training and foster coaching and know that they have growth opportunities. That's an important part of people joining organizations.
Absolutely.
So I think for any sales manager listening to this, for career growth, for job preservation, you ought to become a really, really good coach, because sales management is a middle management job. It's very, very difficult, very, very challenging. Maybe one of the more challenging positions in any organization.
Yes,
because you're the closest to the front line to the salespeople, and you're the closest to the corporate side. So you're that person. That's not lost.
Yeah.
That job used to be a lot of putting together reports, putting together situation analysis, pricing, inventory. All of that stuff is being replaced by computers.
Yeah.
Right. Technology is doing a lot of that.
Absolutely.
The part that technology isn't doing is coaching.
Yes. It can't in the same way. It can't observe. It can't. And you're so right that human piece of it, that human piece of looking at an account executive in the field when they're doing their job and observing a miss, an opportunity for growth, something that they're doing. They value that. Even if in the moment they don't, but if done correctly, they totally value it, even in the moment. Because if it's done with care, which is, no, I actually care about you. I'm not just checking off a list because I have a checklist that I have to do. I'm actually care, and I'm leaned in. I'm leaned in on this process with you. This is cool. Like we could actually do great things together. And your veteran reps, they want that, right? They want to know that we're going to do cool stuff together. That they're not just out there on their own, doing it on their own.
Yeah. So Matt, you were starting to tee up the next question that I want to ask Stephanie, but two-part question. How has sales management really changed over the years? compare what it was like for a sales manager 5 years ago compared to what is expected now of sales managers.
Yeah, it is so much different than even 5 years ago, but even more like when I was a sales manager, which was, gosh, more than 5 years ago, right? There's so much, it's so much different, right? Kind of what Matt was saying, where a lot of the tasks that we used to have to do because there wasn't technology to do them for us, those are starting to wane. And now the true value of our account executive is the human connection with our customers.
Yeah.
Like truly understanding their needs in a way that they can't type them into a software, right? And so the biggest challenge of a sales manager today, and this is different, and this is why our sales managers, why we're bullish on training our sales managers on this as well. The biggest challenge is helping their reps become true marketing experts. And I'll tell you, on the TV side of the business, that is really a shift. And we talk all the time to our managers about how we have to acknowledge that shift, right? Because the bulk of our business, as I referenced earlier in our key accounts, the bulk of our business comes from large ad agencies. And in those cases, the decisions about the health of the business and how the KPIs of the business, those have all been made many layers up. And so for our account executives who've been doing this more than 5 years, more than 10 years, right? That was the bulk of the business, and new business and developmental business was something you did kind of on the side. And now that is our most valuable revenue stream. And so of course, our core business is so important to us because there's a tremendous amount of money there, but they can't influence the decisioning as much as they can on the developmental side. And that's really where we need our account executives. So to that end, we need our sales managers helping them learn that transition. It's different. It's totally different. The value proposition, the value transaction with an agency buyer was drastically different than the value transaction with a furniture store who's got 5 locations in your market. They're family owned. The value transaction is massively different. On the agency side, if I run your points or now your impressions, like we're good. Like I'm solid. And hopefully you'll come back for more and you'll see success, but I'm good if I run the points. On the developmental side, I need to make sure that my campaign is helping you sell furniture, period. And so I need to be more ingrained with that customer to understand how their furniture sales went. Is this normal? Is this seasonality? What's happening in your business? All of those things have to be ingrained in our account executives, and it's not the norm from our industry.
Yeah.
And so we need our sales managers so bad to do that. Like we need, that is the biggest, most important part of it, because that is not easy. It's not easy to transition from the transactional sale to the developmental sale.
It is it is definitely different skills and experience for sure, right? But to your point, though, they have to be able to have a business conversation. They've got to be able to walk in, and the marketing conversation comes. It comes later in the conversation. It has to start with the business conversation. Absolutely. But back to your point, the sales managers need to be able to coach to that and know how to do that themselves.
They do. And that's the thing. I remember when I was a local sales manager, it struck me because I just see patterns, right? And it struck me that and this was many years ago. So all of these, the digital and all the different wasn't even in place yet, but we would go out on new business calls and we would ask a list of questions from a sheet, right? Here's the questions that we have. And they're simple, like, what's your budget? What else are you doing?
How many patients do you have?
Exactly. And then we would answer those 5 questions. They would answer those 5 questions and we'd go, okay. And no matter what the answers were, we would reach in our bag, the AEs would reach in their bag and pull out the same proposal, regardless of the answers to the question. And
doesn't that make you cringe just to even think about it?
It also blew my mind that like my AEs were spending a tremendous amount of time sitting and preparing those proposals when in reality, I don't even think they realized that they were kind of doing the same thing. I got some early morning news, I got some noon news, I got some afternoon news, and they were spending a tremendous amount of time trying to craft that for the customer. Then when I got into digital sales, I realized I can't do that in digital sales. I physically can't because the solutions are so different. And so it was really eye-opening for me, the value of that business conversation, to your point, Stephanie, the business conversation happening first, because now I understand what their ROI is, how many leads they're getting in a quarter, how many more they need to pay for this campaign, what they've got, all of those business conversation, all of that has to come first. And I have to understand their business. And that's a completely different conversation than what's your budget and are you doing billboards right now?
True. So we've talked a lot about what that current job of the sales manager is and what it used to look like. It's at recording, it is October 2023. I need to say that because this could change in a year. So right now, October 2023. What makes a great sales leader in your opinion?
I think the ability to articulate a path forward, the ability to show the team with enthusiasm and positivity that we're going to go this direction and it's going to be good. Because before, especially with your newer reps, or even if you've got a new manager, before they get there, they have to trust you that there is a there there. And so I think the ability to look forward and say, we're going to go in this direction. Come on, come with me. And that transcends all of the paperwork and challenges and fires that come up in a day, because those are real. I don't want to say those are absolutely real and frustrating and time consuming. But a good sales leader can stand up and say, we're going to deal with those. We are absolutely going to deal with all those fires, but we got to move in our direction. And we're excited to go in this direction.
It's the constant messaging of that too, right? Just the consistency and message of where we're going and how we're going to get there and the plan to make it happen.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're speaking to a group of new sales managers, what advice would you give them?
Oh, wow. Okay. I would say focus on true customer results. Make that kind of your North Star.
Wow.
And the dogged determination to get to that point and get your account executives to that point. Help them understand and see the value of that. The conversation changes significantly with a customer when you are actually helping them achieve their goals, as opposed to you have your, fantastic package that you'd like to sell them. The conversation is a much more rewarding one for both the account executive and the manager, if you can get to that point. And so I would say help them get to that point. And I would also say, again, my CSS training is showing, but I understand each individual might have a different path there. Each account executive that you have a different path there. What is, while the metrics and the problem solving might excite one person, the human connection might excite the other person, and helping understand and figure out which one of those will work to get to achieve the goal you need, which is truly them caring about their customers' results and moving in the direction that really, I truly believe if you are hyper focused on that, everything else gets solved.
Yeah.
Everything else, all the fires are manageable because you have this thing that is working and is exciting for you. And all the fires that happen get managed over they kind of figure themselves out. Also, if you have a team of 5 people, if you're a sales manager in our org and you've got a team of 5 people, you have more people to help you solve those fires, right? If you can coach them up, you multiply yourself and you have the ability to get even more people on board to help solve those fires. So you're not standing there all by yourself trying to solve everything.
Yeah, well said. So final thought. So looking into the future, 3 to 5 years, because that is the future, right? That's like so just 3 to 5 years into the future. Tell us what you think some of the changes will be in sales departments. What are we going to see?
I think they're going to be massive in the next 3 to 5 years in our industry, much more so than the last 3 to 5, which we all think the last 3 to 5 were nuts. But I think they're going to be a lot more, because I think with automation and AI, a lot of the tasks, right? We always hear that AI can take the repeatable tasks that the humans do and allow the humans to do the really valuable human tasks. And we do a lot of repeatable tasks. Our humans do a lot of repeatable tasks. So a lot of the things that bog them down in just the business of getting things to air we're actively working, all in the broadcast industry are actively working to trim those things down, automate those things down so that there's less friction on the account executive. And so that's going to allow for more of these human tasks. It's going to allow our account executives, God bless, this is amazing, right? It's going to allow our account executives to actually be out in the field with more customers, understanding the value of these campaigns, not working on the campaign, working on the computer, trying to make sure it's running, all of those little things. A lot of these things are going to be automated for us. And also we're seeing the other massive shift in our industry is, and which will massively impact our sales teams, is this we're finally at the point where television and digital are merging, right, with connected TV. And so we've been talking about this point coming for 10 years, and here we are. And so that's going to drastically change the landscape of what the sales department looks like, and how we report back value, right? Television in the past wasn't really reportable. It was Nielsen, right? We'd give Nielsen posts, but now we're going to be able to report back in the similar way that we do digital, which is super exciting to some, right? Because it's an added nuance. Now we've got to be able to figure out how we illustrate value rather than just, hey, we ran the spots, right? We have to be able to illustrate value. And so those are a lot of things that are going to change in the next handful of years. And we are at Graham Media Group, we are super excited about all of them because they've been coming for so long. And ultimately, they provide more value to our customers. They allow us to illustrate our value to our customers. And so that's tremendously exciting to us.
So I'll summarize what you said. The changes are going to be based on the fact that there'll be more automation and more AI taking care of or replacing doing the repeatable things. And the big change will then come where sales managers will have to spend more time becoming sales coaches, and AEs will spend more time being able to do what they do best, which is sell instead of process.
Right. And interestingly, when you said that, it occurred to me, Matt, I almost thought it's almost like AEs will end up becoming client coaches.
Yeah, nice way of saying
it. It is a nice way of saying that. I like that.
Because they're going to, and when we have a good relationship with our clients, we really are coaching them on the best way to see the results that they need to see. And we're proving that out and we're helping them. And so we see that transition also with a lot of, younger account executives coming in where there's that like, oh, I don't know if I want to sell. Well, then you're helping, right? You're helping this customer achieve their goals, and which we always say strengthens our local economy. And if that's not mission driven, I don't know what is, right? If you can't get behind strengthening your local economy by helping that customer sell more product so then they can hire more people and they can keep people employed, I don't know what's more mission driven.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Go ahead, Stephanie.
No, I was just saying that is so true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a direct correlation between what the AEs do and keeping the economy going.
Yes.
I mean, if they do their jobs right, it makes a big impact on local economies.
It really does. And we talk to our account executives about that a lot because, people want to know that their work is having an impact. Yeah. And often in sales, we're like, I made the company money. Yay. I don't know. No, you're actually
grow businesses.
You're strengthening your local economy, which is super important for a lot of reasons.
All of us that have sold media in our past or currently sell media have done it at some sort of level of success, have had this feeling when you walk into a business that you've helped, or when you're on the phone with the business help, and they introduce you and say, she helped us grow to 6 locations. She helped us do. Yes. I want to introduce you to my salesperson from this company. They helped us. That's like, it's better than all the commission in the world.
It is.
Do what we do, right?
It is. It's total nirvana. And I'm so focused on all of our account executives having one of those moments, hopefully more, because when you do that, you realize I'm not just making money for my company.
Yeah.
I am actually impacting somebody else's their lives, right? Multiple people's lives. And it is, that's so meaningful. And it happens, right? Just like you said, Matt, all of us who've been doing this, you hear that and you're like, wow, I did something that actually made an impact, not just to my company's bottom line, but to their company.
Excellent. Well, Stephanie Slagle, thank you so much for joining us today. You were an amazing guest. We really enjoyed having you on our Improving Sales Performance podcast. If anyone wants to connect with Stephanie, we'll put her LinkedIn in the show notes, so you can connect with her on LinkedIn, and I'm sure she'd love to answer any question that anyone has. You can message her there, and be sure to tune in to the next episode of the Improving Sales Performance podcast. Stephanie Downs, thank you so much. Stephanie Slagle, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
This has been Improving Sales Performance. Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, join us every week by clicking the subscribe button. For more on the topics covered in the show, visit our website, thecenterforsalesstrategy.com. There you can find helpful resources and content aimed at improving your sales performance.